Minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Morning, Kim.
Hi, Jackie.
Welcome back to town. Kim was away.
I was away.
Hey.
I was away in Seattle on a what'd I do?
Whitewater rafting?
Whitewater, that's like such a tongue twister.
Whitewater rafting.
Whitewater rafting with a really hot rafting guide. Is it bad that I wanted to fall off the boat so he could save me? With my kid, it was weird. I was having this weird moment. I wanted to protect my kid, and then I was like, kind of want to fall off so the hot guy can come save me.
Did you tell your son just to call him Daddy?
No, he probably would have jumped off and then expected me to just leave him there.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a great show in store today. Melanie Notkin.
Woohoo!
Savvy Auntie.
Are we going to say Auntie?
Yes, we are going to say Auntie.
Auntie.
Are you? Well, what do you say, Auntie?
Auntie.
Savvy
'cause I'm
Auntie.
from Chicago.
Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what she says. She's from New York.
Anyway,
Anyway, we're taking your call, 661-298-5487. So let's do a little segment we like to call
Broad
Topics.
That I'm going to have it. That's going to be funny. That reminded me of that skit from Saturday Night Live with the
Sweaty balls.
Yeah.
Can we
Well,
say
early
that
for
here
Peter, yeah.
on the radio? All right, so how about that crazy restaurant owner who yelled at a toddler,
Yeah.
a 2-year-old, for screaming in the restaurant, crying, whining, all of the things that our kids have done.
Yeah.
And at first, I feel like the internet was like, parents, you should keep your kids in control. And they were all on her side.
Right.
And then, she's like an onion, like a crazy lunatic onion.
Okay, well, let's back up. So in Maine, there was a husband and a wife and their 20-month-old baby. They were in a restaurant. I guess it was raining outside. They ordered 3 large pancakes. It took a long time, and the baby started to lose its mind and was antsy.
But supposedly the pancakes were on the table, whatever. So Tara Carson finally, she's the mom, she finally spoke out. But we uncovered, it's not that difficult to uncover, but the original post on Facebook, on Marcy's Diner's Facebook page from Tara, who says she had the worst experience. The owner's an absolute lunatic. Screamed in the face of my almost 2-year-old child because she was crying. Who in their right mind would behave like this unless you're deranged? If you have a problem with the child, you're not suitable to run a business. Blah, 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 blah.
right.
And so then the owner responded back.
He said lunatic.
And
Yeah.
the said lunatic, and said it all started because your party needed 3 full-size pancakes for this 2-year-old. 3 effing pancakes at Marcy's. So she goes off and lots of F-bombs, and she says, there was one thing. She says, I've never shied away from being physical. I was in your husband's face, and then she called him without any...
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but we have some audio. Peter, did you know we have audio? Let's listen to the restaurant owner before we make any more judgments. How about that?
Okay.
Okay.
Child acts up for a long time, I might snap. And I do scream at times, but it's all it is. Just leaning over the counter and yelling.
Can you sort of reiterate what happened yesterday? Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
What happened?
After listening to a child scream at the top of her lungs in my very busy restaurant, I screamed at her and told her it had to stop. Her parents didn't want to leave. They didn't seem to even notice that she was crying. Maybe it's normal. I don't know. I don't care.
And you seem like you're just shaking it off.
I am.
Yeah. Why is that? You're not worried other people who saw it might not want to come back here, and people who are seeing this thing go viral?
You know what? Life's full of choices, and you got to live with all of them. I chose to yell at the kid. It made her shut up, which made me happy. It made my staff happy. It made the other 75 people in the restaurant happy. And they left. They may never come back. Other people may not come in. They're lost, really.
Are you sorry at all?
I don't know if sorry would be the proper word. I might have used poor judgment. I wouldn't say I was sorry because it stopped. When things stop, it's usually a good thing. All I said was I slammed my hands on the counter and I said, "This needs to stop," meaning her screaming. And I pointed at her and she looked at me and she stopped. And her parents said, "Are you screaming at a child?" "Yes, I am." And she shut up.
And you said it was pretty bad parenting?
Very. They didn't, I don't know if they knew she was there.
So
ordered 3 pancakes.
anyway, that was she went on and on and on. Clearly too long for the show. But she, what do you think, Kim?
I think, my God, we just complain about everything. There's a part of me, because I am the parent, that if I ever had a Nancy child in a restaurant or anywhere public, that I would remove my child from that situation, because I do think that it is disrespectful and insensitive to other people in my space and in my purview to allow my child to lose it. She said she didn't want to go outside because it was raining. But you can get up and walk around. You can go to the bathroom. It sounds like she didn't do a lot to soothe her child. I don't know.
Right.
I also think that the owner of the restaurant has a right to try to protect the quiet time of the other people in the restaurant. She could have handled it differently. But I don't know. I'm kind of in both places. I think she does sound a little deranged, but I think that's what the appeal is to her and her restaurant, probably. I asked my son this morning about the situation. He said, well, no one should ever yell at a baby, especially if it's not yours. And then he said, and how come the lady just didn't walk out when the baby was crying? So my kid, very much like me.
11 years old,
Yeah.
and he knows.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, though, that this woman, the mom, wrote a post on Facebook just to say, like, this was crazy. This was my experience, our experience. And then that response. And the fact is that it's been reported everywhere.
Right.
Like, it's amazing to me what social media has done to a moment that was like, I will never eat there again. And I'm hope that I let their Facebook people know. And now, like, the media knows and everybody knows. And here we are talking about it.
Right. Well, Marcy's Diner, if you go back on her on her Facebook page, she's continuing the conversation, and people are writing in and sending her flowers, and people are also calling and ordering 3 pancakes over the phone, and it's been a big joke, and I'm sure she's getting
I
a
would
lot
go
of
just
business
with a
out
bunch
of
of
it.
kids, and but we have to go to break. But when we come back, we're going to have Melanie Notkin on the phone, and also later in the show, the shirt that has everybody in an uproar, Target's trophy shirt. Why I'm wearing it today, and how you can win it. We'll be right back.
Well, thanks for staying, Jackie.
Thanks. I had nothing else to do this morning, so here I am. But I'm excited to stay because we've got Melanie, Savvy Auntie, on the phone with us. Good
Hi,
morning.
Melanie.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thanks
How are you?
Excellent.
Good.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, can you solve an argument that we're having here? How do you say Savvy Auntie, Auntie? How do you say it? From being from New York?
However you prefer.
How do you say it?
Well, my nephew and nieces call me Auntie,
Yes.
but we often say Savvy Auntie because it's more rhythmic. And the truth is, most Americans pronounce it Auntie, not Auntie.
And they're wrong.
And actually, I have that all in my book, Savvy Auntie, The Ultimate Guide. But either way, again.
All right.
Well,
I like to say Auntie.
Because Kim will say auntie and I will say auntie, so we are representing both sides of the coin. Because it's funny because even with my kids on my husband's side, they're from California, so they call, they refer, my sister-in-law refers to herself as Aunt Pam, and I'm like, every time she says it, I'm like, auntie. I just say, sometimes, outwardly, and sometimes just in my head. So
Well, my family was the same. My mother's parents and family were they were from England, and so they were, of course, Auntie.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was also part of just being on the maternal side. I should be Auntie, right? Like it's a generational thing. But I called my aunts Auntie. So yeah,
Auntie.
either
Okay.
way.
All
So
right.
either way is either. Way back in 2007. Wait, what year is this? You've been doing this. Savvy Auntie. You launched a long time ago. Tell us a little bit about that.
I launched SavvyAuntie.com in July 2008, so it's exactly 7 years ago this month. And it came because I realized that there were no resources for the modern cosmopolitan aunt. Everything seemed like an old gray-haired aunt when it came to that woman who loves the children in her life so much. And I saw myself much more of a Carrie Bradshaw than that, or even more so than an Auntie Mame. It also seemed old-fashioned, and also I created it because there was a market gap. Everything that I wanted to know or needed to know for my nephew and nieces to be a hero at holiday time, at birthday time, or just every time I saw them, I found that there was nobody talking to me. The media wasn't talking to me. Marketers weren't talking to me. Politicians weren't talking to me. Aunts have been left out of the conversation. And by the way, when I say aunt or aunt, it's by relation, the ABRs, or the ABCs, the aunties by choice. I have an auntie by choice, my Auntie Marilyn. Those are the women who, is mom or dad's good friend and become like an aunt who's family to the child. So that's where it started from, and since then there have been a lot of other wonderful things that have come through that and with that. But yeah, it was 7 years ago in July.
Did people think you were nuts for starting the site?
Well, people think anybody who's starting their own company are nuts, right? To some degree.
Right.
And frankly, the people who love you the most are going to tell you you're nuts because they don't want you to fail.
Right,
So, yes, well, more than nuts, maybe they didn't say that to my face. They probably said that to themselves.
Right.
But, maybe they didn't know me as well as I know me, that when I'm determined to do something, I do it. But also because I just knew I'm a marketer by trade, and I knew that this was an untapped market of literally tens of millions of women, and who want to connect, be the hero with niece or nephew, but also just as women in general want to be talked to, and not assumed that they are mothers. And while Savvy Auntie is also for moms, primarily it's for the demographic I dub PANK, professional aunt, no kids, of which there are 23 million women age 18 plus who don't have a child of their own, but have a child in their life by relation or by choice. So they may have thought I was nuts, but, joke's on them.
Right, but I would imagine that you were pretty vocal back then anyway, so maybe, they were welcoming you having an opportunity to connect with other women and to make something out of this thing that was probably gnawing away at you and that you were vocal about.
Well, and I love that you celebrate this because, I have been an aunt since I was 9 years old. I have 10 older siblings, and this has been such a huge role in my life before children and even after children that, I have over 30 nieces and nephews, and I just absolutely adore them, from the little babies who I can't wait to see next week to, the ones that are in their 30s and have their own kids. It's just, there's this place in your heart for, like you said, whether it's blood relative or, by choice, but these kids mean so much, and that I like that there's a place to, to celebrate that in your role.
Thank you. And in fact, women who, and this is anecdotal, I don't have scientific data around it, but in my experience running the site for as long as I have, or this community as long as I have, which I, by the way, dubbed the Entourage, AUNT, our own little tribe.
We could be here forever with all these.
Our aunt friends. That women who are aunts before they're moms maintain that very connected relationship with those nieces and nephews before they had their own kids, because that was a bond that they had that was uninterrupted before they had their own kids.
Right.
And what I say, frankly, about aunthood is, we're not their mom, we're not their friend, we're their aunt, the perfect blend.
Oh, I love it. Well, when we come back, we're also going to talk about Otherhood, your book, and I think that we'll just have to tease that, and when we get back, we'll talk about it. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're talking to Melanie Notkin, author of Otherhood, Modern Women Finding a New Kind of Happiness.
Childless, not necessarily by choice.
Right. Melanie, are you still with us?
Melanie?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Hi. So tell us, how did you get to the point? Now you're celebrating being an auntie, and you don't have kids of your own kids, and so you decide that there's another world out there who needs to hear from you, and those are the ones like yourself who don't have children. Tell us about how Otherhood came to be.
Sure. When I first of all, to be clear, I always wanted kids. I always expected to have kids, and I was naming kids in my imagination when I was 12. I was always there was no question I was going to be a mom, a married mom, but I remained single and childless. After my first book, Savvy Auntie, The Ultimate Guide, came out in the spring of 2011, I became a contributor to Huffington Post, and one of the first posts I wrote is called The Truth About Childless Women. It was women like me who are circumstantially childless, who grieve our childlessness because we always expected to get married, fall in love, fall in love, then get married and have children.
Right.
And it became such a strong message for so many women who felt finally heard that I ended up on CNN and Good Day New York here, which is a pretty big morning show in New York, and I kept writing on that subject more and more in these very deep, meaningful ways of childlessness when you don't want to be childless, or what do you do as you approach the end of your fertility? The choices that one makes, or the choices people expect you to make, et cetera, et cetera. And so, Otherhood is a reported memoir on this. And while there is this serious subject of dealing with the grief, and it's disenfranchised grief. It's the kind of grief that people don't sympathize with because they sort of blame the victim. Well, you're being too picky. You've been focused on your career so hard. If you just go on Match.com, I'm sure you'd meet a lovely man. That kind of thing.
Right.
When really we're doing our best.
So the
book is actually much funnier than it's coming off right now.
No, it is funny. I actually
LOL.
could see. I've been reading the book, and I could see it as an HBO show or a movie, or the characters. Like I can visualize, the people that you're talking to, and not only just yourself, but other people's stories. But is it equal parts the marriage and the parenthood, or is it that they have to be together? Because it seems a lot like it's about the parenting, and there are lots of different ways to become a parent. So is it has to look a certain way?
I think most women are in their 30s and 40s and even early 50s, this Generation X and maybe even older millennials expect to have a child within the context of love, within the context of a relationship. And while the idea of marriage, as we know, is loosening up a bit, and maybe they're living together, maybe they're boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever it is, but people want a child with somebody they love. It's very rare that a woman says, well, I'm going to be single and I'm going to have a baby on my own when I'm 42. I mean, it's difficult to be a single parent, but also one part of the existential desire to have a child is out of the bond of love with somebody. It's part of your love. It's an extension of your relationship, and you want to have a child with that person. So, of course, there are women who go on, and I champion those women. I talk about those women. Many of those women are friends of mine who go on to have a baby on their own, but that wasn't, what they expected. But like I say, personally, my life is nothing. It's not the life I expected. Nothing compared to the life I expected, but in many ways, it is a life beyond my expectations. I'm a very happy woman, as are all the women I talk to in the book. We have our moments of grief. We have our moments of disappointment. But we also know that we choose love, and we choose to wait for love, which is actually quite a feminist idea, right? We didn't have to get married right out of college because we couldn't afford to live on our own. We can now, and we want to be in love, and whomever we're with deserves to be loved. And so while many of us are hedging our bets, waiting for love before children, or decide at that borderline regret to have a child on our own or to adopt a child, what have you, we are doing it out of the context of a dream to fall in love, get married, or live with somebody and have a baby.
You know what, Melanie, I don't know if you know, I'm a single parent and divorced a couple years back, and have been raising a kid by myself, and a lot of people will ask me about having more children, and the disappointment that people give me is like, oh, just the one? I get that a lot. But I've had a lot of people ask me about adopting another, and if because my son really wants siblings, and, for me at this point, like, I've done the single mom thing, and it's really hard, and for me it's about family. Like, I want the unit. And I know
Right.
you said earlier, and there's a lot of articles that I read that I really resonated with me. The people say that I'm too picky, and because I can't find, why don't you just find a man that has children and that'll complete your family? Why don't you just do this and why don't you just do that? And I get that whole feeling of it's hard. This is hard, and when you have an image in your mind of what it's supposed to look like, you should hold out for that. When you only know what your own limitations and expectations and hopes and aspirations are. So I don't really have a question there. It was just more of a bookend.
But and I feel like in some ways, I know we have to take a break, but I want to comment on that. Melanie, can you stick around?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back.
Sweet little Jackie.
That's me. So we're on the phone with Melanie Notkin, I can't speak today, author of Otherhood, Modern Women Finding a New Kind of Happiness. So Melanie, I'm listening to you and I'm listening to Kim, and part of me, a large part of me is like, I'm married, am happily married. I have 3 children, 2 through biology and 1 adopted. And so I feel like in some ways like, oh no, you can't say anything. However, reading the book and also being Kim's friend for many years, I sometimes feel like while some people may call it picky, it's not necessarily picky, but sometimes our minds aren't as open to the possibilities of people you wouldn't expect as being the right partner for you. Do you feel like that's ever the case?
It's not the case for me. I can't speak for other people. I think that we want to find out, so what happened, right? What's the reason why you're single, because you've got all these things going for you, and yet you can't find the guy? Well, part of the problem is that not all men want a relationship. Not all men want to get married. Not all men want to have children. And it's not for lack of trying. It's not for lack of being open. But it is for a lack of just needing to settle to prove that I can be lovable, etc. So for me, I like love, and I'm good at love, and I've been in love, and I've been heartbroken. Boy, have I been heartbroken. Right. But I won't settle for lesser love, and it's easier if you think of love and dating as like a game of musical chairs. If you somehow get a chair before the music stops, you're wondering, well, maybe because they weren't strategic enough to get a chair, maybe because they didn't go fast enough to get a chair. Whatever it was, it's easier once you're in that comfortable place to wonder why people are still walking around circles trying to get that chair when the music stops. But the music doesn't just play for those who are in love, who got love. It plays for all of us, and love isn't a reward for those who deserve it. It's a reward
Absolutely.
for those who wait for it, and you didn't have to wait as long as I do.
Well, and I didn't, and you know what? The fact is that I would be probably, I think, in the same situation you and Kim are in, waiting for that guy. If, I met my husband, we were friends for 4 years, I had no idea. So much that somebody said to me, like, I could see you with Jeff McDougall. I was like, that he's too boring. I just
think that the conversation that Melanie, you're bringing out and inviting people into is bigger than just the auntie part. I think it's about acceptance and tolerance, and in some ways the people are so quick to judge. And I can only say this because I did this with a very dear friend of mine, my friend Michelle, who is engaged to a great guy, but she was the auntie. She was all of our kids' auntie. She didn't have kids of her own, and all of us were like, just maybe adopt or get inseminated, like just you won't regret it. And she was the one of all of us that wanted a child more than anything. And I remember when she went through that period of like, it's not going to happen for me, and the grief that you spoke of earlier. And really just all of us having to just back off and let her live her life and be happy the way she was, and let her be this great aunt and this great woman in all of our lives. And now she's going to be an awesome stepmom. And, I celebrate that. But I remember that feeling of like, why am I so down on what she's doing? It's her choice. And,
right.
And I wasn't going to add any more insults or whatever was already her injury. But I think that, we're so quick to judge people for what their life is because we want them to have all the happiness in the world, and we want it to look like our happiness rather than just like you said,
right,
accept your happiness for what you are. And I'm a perfect example of that. Like I'm a happy woman. Would I be happier if I had a person in my life that I could share my happiness with? Yes, but I'm good. Like, I'm good.
Right.
And I've accepted, I've embraced this life that I didn't want or choose, but I'm good here, and I'm happy, and I'm making the most of it. And it sounds like that's what you're doing, and I appreciate that you've opened up that dialogue for us.
But how do you find the balance between, allowing yourself to grieve what you thought would happen and being happy with what you have?
Well, it's a process, certainly. And I'm very happy with who I am now. And in fact, now I'm in my mid-40s, and I talk about this in the book. Now I'm actually more attractive to men. And I think because men will think, and I talk about in the book, the Bermuda Triangle, dating Bermuda Triangle, where women between the ages of 35 and 40,
right.
men are hesitant to date because they think they're all desperate for them. They're all desperate to get married. If these women by 35 didn't marry, they were never desperate to marry, but they wanted to marry. But in any case, now that it feels more safe for them, that I'm not. They don't assume I'm desperate for them. They have become a little bit more desperate for me. It's a very interesting dynamic, and so my life looks a little bit different than it did. But also, frankly, you can't measure your happiness on other people's measure of what happiness is, or even what happiness is for you. And you can't measure happiness on what the younger you, and that could have been even the 20-year-old you, decided what happiness would look like when you're 35, 40, 45. And so the only way to measure, to be happy, is to look at one's authentic self, and to appreciate one's authentic self, and to live one's authentic life, which is, I made the decision not to be the wrong wife in the wrong life,
Right.
even if that meant I wouldn't have children, and even if that brought me grief. But I made the decision, and I'm a happy woman because of all the other things in my life. It's not the life I expected, but it is a life way beyond my expectations. And when we appreciate ourselves, and our true authentic selves, that's the only way to measure happiness.
So, Melanie,
great.
Are your parents still alive?
My mom passed when I was 19 many years ago. My dad, thank God, is 82, and I mean, every week 50 kilometers he cycles.
Wow.
He's great. Yeah,
So,
amazing.
My father is still alive, and I have a great relationship with my dad. And one of the hardest things for me with my dad is the look of like, oh, my baby, and like his worry for me, and am I ever going to find somebody? And I'm getting the signal that we have to go to break. So I want to leave this with you about how your parents have embraced your dad specifically. Sorry, embraced this life and this you, and if your dad has that worry for you and that sorrow that my dad seems to have for me. So we're going to take a break.
Can you stay a little bit longer? Because we weren't going to have her any longer, but can we keep you? Can we keep you?
Yes, absolutely. I'm here for you.
We'll be right back. Welcome back.
Thank you, Melanie, for staying. Sorry about the time. I don't want to lose you today. So I'm glad you could stay. But so I know this is a silly off-topic question, but does your dad worry about you?
I'm sure he does, but he's learned not to share that with me.
Maybe he could talk to Kim's dad.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Well, and I think what changed it was several years ago. I don't remember exactly. Maybe it was 7-8 years ago. He said something to me like, well, your brother is married and his 2 stepsons are married. Of all the 4 kids, you're my stepmom, and he thought I wouldn't be the last one to remain single. And all I could respond to was, Daddy, any idiot can get married.
Oh, you're so
really
right.
Doesn't take, I could have gotten married. And then the other thing I said to him was, Dad, nobody wants me married more than me.
Yeah.
And so this doesn't help. And trust me, I don't want to be alone. And I know it pains you.
Yeah.
That you worry that I'll be alone. But I'm not alone. I have friends. I have my brother and his family and others, and I'm not alone. And I'm not lonely inside a marriage that I can't get out of. And so those things changed things for him. I think he began to trust trust me. But really, often enough, it's their own pain that they're articulating.
Yeah, my dad, I've asked him to stop because my dad's famous thing is, well, you deserve to be in love. I'm like,
you deserve to be in a marriage with someone who's wrong for you.
Yeah, no, but and my kid every once in a while will say to me, I'm not working hard enough at trying to find a husband. And he's kidding, but I mean, it is really hard, and I know we're different in the sense that you know, like I do have a son, but it's really hard just to be single in general, especially. Sure. I mean, Melanie, you and I are within I think a year of our ages, and it is hard. I get those looks from people, and I get the oh you poor thing, and then I start to feel that a little bit, and I hate always being the third wheel. And Jackie knows this, that you know all my friends are married, and every time there's something coupley, I'm the only one that doesn't have anybody, and it does get a little hard, and it's hard to be positive and upbeat all the time, and like you said, it's not that I lack of trying, it's just it's a quality life that I want at this age in my life. I'm not willing to just settle because I do have expectations for who I want in my life and who I want around my child. But it's hard. I mean, this is, you know, you said before.
Yeah. It's infuriating.
Yeah.
Because it's infuriating that it hasn't happened. And yeah, I mean, look, and as we get older, right, and we see older couples, and we know, like, I better be really madly in love with this man,
right,
if I'm going to have to take care of him, you know, in old age,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to have to feed somebody their oatmeal, I want to, like, know that I love this guy.
Yeah. Right.
It's just that as we think of life in a different perspective, being in our 40s, it brings on different things that we look at. And you having a son, and by the way, you never have to qualify what who has more right to be sad or what. Yes,
right.
It's true. I didn't get love nor the child, and you got a child, but now you don't have the love. And there are two different. Those are two very different kinds of love, and there's no reason to qualify. You are very well said to say that it's not the life that you expected, but that also you're not going to settle for the wrong guy because gosh, it's misery. It's misery to have lunch with somebody you're not into.
Right.
Imagine a whole life.
Right. Can I ask you, as the person, the married one here, what can I do? What can other married friends do? Because sometimes you feel your friend's pain, you feel your friend's frustration, or when they're furious or infuriated, but so how can we support? Like sometimes I'm like, oh please, half the people here don't want to be with their spouses. Like I'll make a joke about it, or I'll like how can we support but not make another person feel like they're pitied? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, by just listening and letting them talk about what they need to talk about. And not clouding it with judgment, not clouding it with, well, if I were her, this is what I would have done, and then articulating that out loud. Right. It's just listening. And also, sometimes married people, because there are two of them, have access to single people that they know, or to somebody who, at work, or somebody who's just divorced, or what have you. I mean, see if there's a way to set up a friend. Be thoughtful of it. Because sometimes people say, you should do this, you should do that. Well, do you have anybody set me up with? No, come to think of it. I don't know any single men. Then why do you think I do? Right. That I'm not dating them. So just let them talk about what they need to talk about. And understand that, it's not an easy subject for them to talk about, and sometimes they've stopped talking about it because their married friends don't listen well, and they judge, and they give obvious advice like go online, as if we didn't know that there was a Match.com.
Right. So, Melanie, you started Aunties Day, right? Yes. So, I know it's this Sunday, July 26th. Yes. So, tell us what that is and what we can do to support that.
Oh, thank you so much. So the 7th annual Aunties Day is Sunday, July 26th, and it's every fourth Sunday in July, and it's the day to honor and celebrate the aunt in your child's life and or in your life, or a godmother. And remember, it's not just the aunt by relation; it can also be the aunt by choice, the great aunt. It's that neighbor next door who always gives a little treat to your child as they walk by. It's the teacher who puts in extra time, even though the child has many years left that classroom. It's a woman in a child's life who loves and adores them without being their parent. So like Mother's Day, it's a day just to remember that woman and to acknowledge her. Whether it's just a text message or call, Skype, take her out for brunch, take her to the spa, whatever it is, just celebrate and honor her. And I promise you, just that acknowledgement alone will be very well received. I say that aunthood is a gift. It's a gift for the child, both figuratively and, of course, literally speaking. We're good with those gifts. It's a gift to the parents, giving that support as the parents need it, being that extra hand in the family village. But also, it's a gift for the aunt for all that the meaning and joy and love and legacy that aunthood gives her. And I say that aunthood is a gift. This day is hers. So just acknowledge her, love her, and I'm sure it'll be appreciated.
And they can follow you at Savvy Auntie on Twitter. And
Correct.
Facebook. And we have to go to break, but Otherhood, Modern Women Finding a New Kind of Happiness. Also, your book, Savvy Auntie, both can be found on Amazon and on your website, correct?
Absolutely. Go to savvyauntie.com. Also for e-cards and posters to share news about Auntie's Day.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Melanie Notkin.
Happy Auntie's Day.
Happy
Auntie's Day to you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And we will be right back with that Target controversy. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back, my trophy wife.
Right? Look at, we're on Periscope right now too, right? Did you start? Did you start on Periscope? I forgot my mic. I can't do Periscope and a mic at the same time.
Take away your trophy.
So, as you know, Target, this shirt can be found at Target, and I'm not getting paid for this or anything. I just like controversy. So, this week, people were just writing about it and how it was. They have a whole line. It says Mrs. and then Team Bride, and it's just kind of a whole. It's June. It's July, but whatever. It's wedding season. It's always wedding season, but. People were upset that this was saying like trophy wife, and it was anti-feminist and blah 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 blah, which is a whole other. We could do a whole show on that.
Right. Okay. So
I think I am a trophy. You are a trophy. I mean, we are so busy knocking women down online and social media. We should all be wearing this.
Right.
To me, it has nothing to do with being a wife. I happen to be a wife, and you know what? I'm a wife to somebody who thinks I'm a trophy.
Well,
and I think he's a trophy.
In all fairness, though, the term trophy wife isn't all that positive, and I think that's where, in the beginning, I could care less about that phrase, but I think the point is that...
You couldn't care less?
I couldn't... the whole concept of trophy wife is that you're nothing more than just something visual.
Thanks! I'm 44 and overweight, and I have 3 kids. Thank you for calling me a trophy wife.
Yeah, but I think back not back in the day, but when that phrase was initiated, I think that was what it had a derogatory term.
It was like the second wife and the one that they went for.
I'm over all the complaining. But
broad was also a negative term.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Are we going to be victims of terms, or are we going to own them and flip them? And that's exactly what we're doing with broadcast. Why would we not do that with trophy wife?
Right.
I am. And so we actually have trophy, whether
T-shirts.
you're a wife or not, T-shirts to give away.
Right.
If you go to our website and enter your name and email address to sign up for our newsletter, you are automatically entered. And we're going to do that through August 5th.
August 5th?
August 5th.
All right, so people need to hurry up. So they can find us at broadscast.com, right?
Broadscast.com, BROADSCAST.com.
Or on Facebook.
Or on Facebook, it tells you to join our newsletter.
I like that you drove all over to get the trophy shirts.
I was online. They were all out. That's the thing, too, is that people are so offended, but yet, Target didn't have any in stock.
Well, I think for me, the bigger...
Especially in the burbs where we live.
I think the bigger issue is the fact that people just are always looking for something to complain about. I'm surprised people have not gone after Target for their name, because Target actually could mean, I'm going to... aim at you.
Right.
If people want to go after a phrase, please go after the wife beater phrase for tank tops. That drives me bananas. But I just let it go. I'm too old for all this. I can't keep up with all the complaining. People, they are finding their way onto their blogs to just complain about everything. It's just something per Target. I mean, in some ways, I just
Oh,
sort of
Target
feel like
should be thrilled because it's not enough. It's like enough to bring it to light, but not enough. It's everybody's on their soapbox, and I've been guilty of being on my soapbox. But when it comes to especially women's issues, I think even you take like unfair pay. If somebody's working at the grocery store and they're a cashier and the man next to them is making 30 cents more, an hour, or 30 cents on the dollar more, then I think we should fight for that. But if you're somebody who makes sure, like, I'm in a field where you make your own opportunities. Right. I'm not going to get 70 cents on the dollar because I'm not going to put up with it.
Right.
And so I think we need to empower each other, not to be victims of, like I said, there are certain times we need to stand up and defend,
right.
But let's stop being victims of every word and everything.
And don't speak on my behalf because I'm not offended by the shirt. I'm not offended by half the things that people are totally offended by on behalf of all women or behalf of our population. I mean,
I'm offended by racism. I'm offended by people who hurt those with special needs, or I'm offended by discrimination. I'm not offended because you used a word to describe me that I can determine what it means.
Right.
We're too strong for that.
Yeah.
We got to go to break.
All right. Well, we got to go to break until next week, actually. Yeah, we're all done, sister.
Oh my God, that's
it. Yeah. Okay,
right,
so
have a good break. Yeah. Have a good day. Have a good week. Bye.
KHTS, Canyon Country, Santa Clarita.
It's 11 o'clock. Time for KHTS National News, powered by CNN.
The crowd at a Louisiana movie theater last night was a drifter from Alabama. And when police searched his place,
we found wigs and glasses and disguises basically in his room.
the tags on his car